Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of source materials, investigative reports, articles, case files, and we pull out the essential insights to give you that shortcut to being truly informed.
And today our mission is, it's a deep and frankly pretty unsettling exploration.
It is. We're looking at a case that starts in Halifax, Canada. And on the surface, it looks like a straightforward, if tragic, murder investigation.
But it's not. It very quickly unravels into this shocking scheme of illegal tissue brokering, professional corruption. It connects these high-powered lawyers, a celebrated neuroscientist, and at the center of it all, a serial killer.
That convergence is really the core of what we need to unpack.
It is. The sources pull us into so many intersecting worlds. You've got forensic pathology, high-stakes legal ethics, criminal investigation procedures, and it's all revolving around the fate of one teenage victim, Lisa McAdam.
So we're looking beyond just the crime. We're trying to understand the structural failures that let this happen.
Exactly. The breaches of fiduciary duty, the illegal human tissue brokering, the academic misconduct, all these things created an environment where a psychopath could operate, basically hiding in plain sight.
Okay, let's set the stage. Because the foundation for this whole disaster is really laid in the professional world of one person, a lawyer named Kate Lange.
Right. We start inside this very competitive premier boutique law firm in Halifax. It's called Lyons McGrath Barrett, or LMB.
And Kate is an associate lawyer. She's on probation.
Yeah.
And she is just desperate. She's fighting to escape what she calls the pink ghetto.
Which is family law. And that phrase, pink ghetto, it's so important for understanding her ambition, her drive.
She feels pigeonholed.
Completely. She is incredibly talented, but her career path got sort of knocked off track years ago. She was dealing with her mother's illness and eventual death, working extra hours, and she missed that whole top-tier law school recruitment cycle.
So she knows she's capable of more. She wants that complex, challenging corporate litigation work.
But the firm's managing partner, Randall Barrett, he's the one who has her stuck doing family law. Her shot at making partner, which depends on her performance right now during this probation, it's slipping away.
And the firm itself, the internal dynamics are just toxic.
It's rooted in this really deep, ugly history. There is this profound hostility between the managing partner, Randall Barrett, and Kate's former fiancé.
Who happens to be a homicide detective, Ethan Drake.
Right. And this isn't just some workplace thing. It's personal. The sources trace it all back 2 years to this really controversial conviction of a Dr. Don Clarkson.
A friend of Barrett's.
A very close friend. Clarkson was convicted for what was suspected to be a mercy killing, and Barrett was, and still is, convinced his friend was innocent.
And he blames Detective Drake.
He believes Drake unduly influenced the key witness, a teenager, and basically skewed the whole investigation to get the conviction.
And the conviction was upheld, but it was close, right?
2-1 on appeal, which tells you how contentious it was. But for Barrett, that just hardened his resentment. And so that anger, it taints Kate by association. In his eyes, she's connected to the man who ruined his friend's life.
So she's stagnating professionally, she's under all this pressure, and the guy who holds her future in his hands basically distrusts her on sight.
It's a nightmare scenario. And her whole world changes, or so she thinks, when she finally gets a file from her mentor, John Lyons.
The trans-tissue file?
The twist of fate. It's a civil litigation case. Trans-tissue, they're a big supplier of bone filler products.
And they're being sued.
By a man named Brad Gallivant. He's alleging he got an infected product from them, specifically hepatitis C.
And this is exactly the kind of work Kate has been desperate to get her hands on.
Absolutely. It's complex. It's high-stakes corporate defense. The strategy they're building is to argue that Gallivant contracted hep C somewhere else.
From a blood transfusion, maybe, or lifestyle choices? Anything to deflect the blame from trans-tissue's product.
For Kate, this isn't just a file. It's her one chance to prove to Randall Barrett that she belongs in the big leagues, in the litigation group.
But this path to her professional redemption, it gets almost immediately sidetracked by another client.
A woman named Marion McAdam. And this is where the ethical and legal tripwires just start going off everywhere.
Marion is seeking custody of her 15-year-old granddaughter, Lisa McAdam.
And the situation is just agonizing. Marion claims that Lisa's mother, who is a very high-profile judge, Judge Hope Carson, is deeply neglectful.
She says the judge is always working, has no idea where her daughter was most of the time.
But here's the complication. Lisa herself says she wants to stay with her mother, despite all this. So Kate looks at the case and tells Marion, you don't really have a strong case here without some kind of concrete proof that Lisa is actively endangering herself.
And this leads to that critical ethical crossroads, the moment where fiduciary duty fails.
It really does, because for you listening, fiduciary duty is the highest standard of care. Kate has an obligation to act in the best interest of her client and, by extension, the public good.
But Marion refuses to call Child Protection Services.
She's terrified that if the authorities get involved, Lisa will be traumatized, she'll lie to protect her mother, and she'll never agree to live with her grandmother. She wants to keep it private.
And Kate is caught. She suspects Marion is maybe not telling her the whole truth, maybe downplaying her fears, but she honors the client's request. She agrees not to call child protection.
And this is a catastrophic decision. Prioritizing that client confidentiality over her statutory duty to report potential child endangerment becomes the ethical mistake that the entire tragedy hinges on.
And it's not a decision she makes in a vacuum. It's colored by her own past trauma.
Deeply. The sources are very clear that her judgment here is warped by the guilt she carries over her sister, Imogen's death.
Imogen died in a car accident.
Years before, Kate had found her using drugs, what's described as a mound of white powder. And in her attempt to intervene to save her, she drove too aggressively and they crashed. Imogen was killed.
So Kate carries this crushing guilt, feeling like she made the wrong choice by pushing too hard.
Exactly. So now, faced with Lisa, she does the opposite. By choosing inaction, by honoring Marion's request for privacy, she feels like she's letting down another 15-year-old girl. She's trying to correct her past mistake, but in doing so, she makes an even bigger one.
It's just a heartbreaking example of personal trauma completely warping professional judgment. And the consequences, they don't wait. They are immediate and horrifying.
Yes. The scene shifts from the law office to a grim crime scene. It's a Tuesday morning, May 1st, and Lisa McAdams' body is discovered.
Found dismembered at the granary site in Halifax.
Oh.
And the city just explodes. The media storm is instant. Judge's daughter dismembered.
The scene itself tells a story. The body was found by a security guard around 5:40 in the morning, but what struck Ethan Drake and the other investigators was how clean the dump site was.
Meaning the killing, the dismemberment, it all happened somewhere else.
Precisely. The killer used the greenery as a convenient drop-off, and there's this immediate pressure because the weather is turning, a red sky, a sailor's warning as Ethan calls it. Rain is coming, and it threatens to wash away any trace evidence.
And the identification process with the mother, Judge Hope Carson, that adds another disturbing layer to all this.
It's deeply unsettling. She has to identify her daughter's body through a pane of glass, and Ethan is watching her reaction very closely.
There's no emotion.
No sobs of grief, no cries of distress. Her first concern, her very first conversation, is about postponing her trial to protect her career, not about where Lisa was or who she was with. She admits she had no idea where her daughter was.
That's just a massive red flag for the investigators.
A huge one. And it's Kate Lange, driven by this overwhelming sense of guilt and conscience, who finally makes the call.
She connects Marion's fears with the news reports.
Yes, she provides the critical tip. She calls Ethan's unit to officially report Lisa missing, confirming Marion's story and linking the body to Lisa's identity.
It's an act of conscience, but it has immediate professional blowback.
Oh, absolutely. Judge Carson is furious. She believes Kate only called the police to show her up, to make her look like a bad mother. So instantly, Judge Carson is out for Kate's blood.
So now Kate's professional world and this massive criminal investigation are tied together. They're personally entangled.
And from there, we move to the autopsy, and the forensic findings start to paint a picture of a truly terrifying and methodical killer. Dr. Guthrow is the medical examiner.
What did you find?
The cause of death was strangulation by ligature. The signs are unmistakable: deep bruising and extensive petechia.
Which are those tiny burst capillaries?
Exactly. All over her face, neck, and eyes. It shows immense pressure was used. The body itself was mutilated. The sources used the chilling description of a mannequin.
The limbs removed.
Precisely detached. And the removal was so clean, it was hard at first to tell if it happened before or after death.
And then there was that surprising detail about Lisa herself.
Yes. The fact that Lisa was a virgin, it completely unnerved the detectives because it just demolished the teenage rebel stereotype the media was already building. It meant the motive probably wasn't sexual assault. It was something else.
Something colder.
Much colder. And the dismemberment itself was done with incredible surgical skill. The cuts were described as very clean, made with a bone saw by someone who knew exactly how to dissect a joint.
The kind of knowledge you get in a hospital or a lab.
Exactly. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a professional. And then the killer left his signature.
A message.
The message. Left in the glenoid cavity.
The shoulder socket.
In the bone of the shoulder socket itself. Etched with a scalpel. The letters LOL. Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And Ethan Drake knew immediately what that meant. This wasn't just violence. This was a definite fuck you. A psychological insult. It confirmed the killer was a psychopath, acting in a completely clinical, dispassionate manner.
To leave a message like that in that specific anatomical place, it screams both confidence and deep medical knowledge.
It shifts the entire investigation. They're now hunting for a highly skilled predator, someone likely hiding within the medical or academic world.
And while all this is happening, Kate Lange is still trying to salvage her career with that trans tissue file.
Right. Even as her mentor, John Lyons, is desperately trying to shut her down.
He wants trans tissue to settle the lawsuit.
Quickly and quietly, he's pushing for a substantial payment and, this is critical, a non-disclosure agreement. An NDA.
Why the rush?
Because trans tissue is in the middle of a huge expansion, they're reporting record profits. They cannot afford the publicity nightmare of a lawsuit that says their products are giving people hepatitis C.
But Kate is meticulous. She ignores Lyons and starts digging into the technical reports.
The ones provided by the tissue supplier to trans tissue, and she finds it. The one thing that turns this from a civil liability case into a potential criminal conspiracy.
What was it?
A huge red flag. She finds 5 different tissue donors, all with identical viral screening results.
Which is statistically impossible.
It's like finding 5 different people who won the lottery with the exact same numbers. It just doesn't happen. She realizes immediately the supplier is using fake blood samples and falsifying the donor reports.
They're hiding something, likely infected tissue.
And when she presents this to John Lyons, his reaction is telling. He accuses her of watching CSI Miami. He completely dismisses her.
He tells trans tissue to settle immediately, not just with the first plaintiff, but with the second one who has come forward, Denise Rogers. Pay them off, get the NDA signed.
And then he takes Kate off the case. Case closed, he tells her.
Which, of course, just confirms all her suspicions.
Exactly. The attempt to shut it down proves to her that this is a massive fraud, and it goes way beyond one infected batch. And this pursuit of the truth, it's fueled by her need to finally act, to make up for her failures with Imogen and Lisa.
And that leads her to the supplier itself, Biometasol.
She looks them up in the registry of joint stock companies, and what she finds is instantly suspicious.
That's some big corporation.
Not at all. Biometasol, this company handling huge amounts of harvested human tissue for surgical products, is owned by a man named Craig Peters, and its official address is a residential apartment on Church Street.
That is a colossal red flag.
An apartment headquarters for a global tissue supplier screams illegal activity. And her investigation gets another push from a very unlikely source.
Her elderly neighbors, Enid and Muriel.
They mention something seemingly innocuous. They talk about Keene's funeral home and this donor consent form they were asked about for a neuromuscular motor study.
And who's leading that study?
A renowned researcher from Hollis University, Dr. Ronald Gill.
So that's the academic link.
It's the key. Kate goes directly to Dr. Gill, and he confirms it. His study uses human bodies, specifically the limbs, for his nerve regeneration research. And he tells her the rest of the bodies are cremated by Keene's funeral home.
So the pieces are all snapping into place. The funeral home, the famous academic, and this shady tissue supplier.
And now you can see the whole corrupt structure. This is where the world of high-level law, academic prestige, and, frankly, organized crime all just collapse into one another.
Let's break down the roles here. It starts with the funeral home.
Anna Keene at Keene's funeral home. She's the gatekeeper. She handles the bodies, the cremations. She starts by soliciting body parts for Dr. Gill's study, often unethically.
And then she just turns a blind eye to the bigger operation.
The much more lucrative illegal brokering that Biometasol is running out of her facility. She provides the raw material and the cover.
Then you have Biometasol, the illegal engine of the whole thing.
Right. On paper, they process tissue. In reality, they are illegally obtaining and selling non-donated body parts. Spines, eyes, you name it. to huge processors like TransTissue.
Run by Craig Peters, but secretly financed by Kate's mentor, John Lyons.
And Lyons' involvement is just profoundly corrupt. He's not just advising a client, he's funding the whole criminal enterprise through fraud. The sources say he actually faked Randall Barrett's signature on a loan document from a company called Credit Angels to get the money for Biomedisol.
So the entire operation is being fueled by high-level legal forgery from inside LMB.
It's unbelievable. And then you have the final piece. Dr. Ronald Gill, the celebrated academic, he's using these illegally procured limbs for his research because he's chasing a Nobel Prize.
And he's relying on Craig Peters to do the dirty work.
Peters was his former surgical resident and assistant. Gill relies on him to do the disarticulations and, most importantly, to keep his mouth shut about where the body parts are coming from.
So while Kate is untangling this corporate fraud, Ethan's investigation is closing in from the street level.
And the two investigations are about to collide. Ethan gets a lead from a drug dealer, Shonda Bryant.
She saw Lisa the night she was killed.
Buying ecstasy, yes. But Shonda also reveals that Lisa was just part of a pattern of missing victims, forgotten kids, she calls them, prostitutes, street kids from the north end of Dartmouth.
So it's not a single murder. It's a serial killer.
It's a serial killer. They identify another victim, Chrissy Burns, but the key piece of information comes from Shonda's memory of another girl, Vanjie Wright.
She went missing 2 years earlier.
Yes, described as tiny, like a bird, heavily addicted to crack. Shonda remembers seeing her get picked up by a John in a shiny silver sedan.
But there's another crucial detail about Vanjie.
Her sister confirms it. Vanjie was suspected of having CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
And this is the moment. This is where the serial killer, the medical trafficking, and a deadly biological threat all slam into each other.
It's the point of maximum convergence. Vanjie Wright is later confirmed as the probable ground zero, the point where CJD entered this illegal tissue supply chain.
And for you listening, CJD is an incredibly rare and fatal neurodegenerative disease. It's caused by something called prions.
Misfolded proteins. It's sometimes called a slow virus because the symptoms can take years, even decades to show up. But once they do, it's rapid and terrifying. Dementia, loss of muscle control, and then death.
And this connects back to an earlier lead Ethan had, right?
It does. A tip from Dr. Olson on the hospital disciplinary board. He'd mentioned a neurosurgeon, Dr. Mike Mazursky, who was on medical leave with CJD.
How did he get it?
From infected dura mater, that's the membrane around the brain, often used in surgical grafts. Now, Mazursky was innocent, but his case confirmed a critical pathway: cadaveric tissue, surgical procedures, and the transmission of this fatal brain disease.
So if Vanjie Wright had CJD, and her body went through Keene's funeral home and Biomedisol, who had the surgical skills to handle her body.
The killer himself, Craig Peters, president of Biomedisol, Dr. Gill's former surgical resident assistant.
He was kicked out of his residency program.
For behavioral issues, yes, but his history goes way back. The sources detail this deeply disturbed childhood dissecting animals, and most chillingly, doll mutilation. He would meticulously remove their limbs and keep them in a shoebox.
Which explains the clinical, dispassionate nature of the crime scene.
It explains everything: the surgical precision, the dismemberment, the LOL message. It's a pathology rooted in a deep loathing for his mother and abuse by his brother.
And this whole tissue trafficking network gave him the perfect cover.
He could satisfy these psychotic urges under the guise of legitimate scientific work. It was the perfect setup for him.
And then comes the ultimate horrifying twist. Craig Peters contracted CJD himself.
He did, most likely while he was disarticulating an infected body, probably Vanjie Wright's, without proper safety protocols, because the whole operation was illegal and off the books. He was exposed to the prion material during the dissection.
So the meticulous killer is now becoming symptomatic. The disease that he helped spread is now destroying him from the inside.
The irony is just excruciating. And the risk spread to Dr. Gill, too. In his ambition, he also handled the infected tissue. So he now faces a lifetime of psychological terror, just waiting for the disease to manifest.
Which brings us to the climax.
Yeah.
Everything converges violently at Keene's funeral home.
John Lyons knows Kate has figured it out. The fake reports, Biomedisol, the fraud, probably even the link to the murders. He tells her they need to meet immediately.
He's planning to silence her.
It's a two-part plan. First, he orders Anna Keene to inject Craig Peters with something lethal and put him in the crematorium to eliminate the star witness and the serial killer in one go.
And second, he's going to intercept Kate at the parkade.
But Kate is already a step ahead. She breaks into the funeral home. She needs hard proof.
And she finds it in the upstairs embalming room. in a filing cabinet. The biomedicol records.
The cold, hard evidence. Paperwork connecting a dismembered leg, which was fraudulently labeled Mary Littler on a consent form, to the real identity of Vanjie Wright, confirmed by a tattoo description.
She's got it, but she's walked right into the killer's lair.
And the trap closes. Craig Peters finds her. He's deeply psychotic now. His CJD symptoms are flaring. It's a horrific scene. He strips her, secures her to a gurney.
And during that struggle, he stumbles, and she finds a scalpel blade embedded in her thigh, left over from his work.
It's the moment of maximum danger. But it's also, unexpectedly, a moment of redemption orchestrated by Randall Barrett.
How so?
Barrett had been quietly investigating Lyons' financials. He finds the fraudulent Credit Angels loan, the one with his own forged signature. He realizes Lyons is not just a fraud, but is likely planning to murder Kate to cover it all up.
And in a moment of, I guess, ethical clarity, he makes a call.
A frantic call to Ethan Drake. He confesses everything he knows, the names Lyons, Peters, Keene, the whole biomedicol fraud. That call saves Kate's life. It gets the police racing to the funeral home.
But Kate still has to survive the final confrontation.
It's a brutal fight. She's using her conditioning as a runner to strain against the restraints. But Peters' own disease is her unlikely advantage. His CJD-induced spasms cause his grip to loosen.
She acts on pure instinct.
As he slams her against the wall in a rage, her back hits the elevator button. It's just a desperate move. But in that chaotic struggle, the scalpel blade that was in her thigh is somehow used against his chest. Whether it was deliberate or accidental in the chaos, it's not entirely clear. But that injury, combined with his disease, kills him.
The fallout is immediate.
And immense. John Lyons disappears, implied to have committed suicide. Anna Keene is arrested for her role in the illegal brokering and attempted murder.
And Dr. Gill,
The celebrated academic. He's released on bail, charged with offering an indignity to human remains. He faces up to 5 years in prison. But the real sentence is a lifetime of fearing CJD. And Hollis University's reputation is just shattered.
And what about Kate?
She survives, a concussion, stitches, a cast on her arm, but she returns to LMB a completely different person.
And Randall Barrett sees that.
He does. He's had his own moral reckoning. He welcomes her back and offers her that spot she always wanted in the complex litigation group. He finally sees her for who she is, someone who will find the truth no matter the cost.
Her personal journey is complete. She found a way to rectify the guilt she felt over her sister. And over Lisa. The sources end with this image of her looking at brave and bold flower buds in her garden, a symbol of her future.
It's just such a chilling case study. It really highlights the dangers of what happens when you have no oversight, when financial greed and academic ambition meet in the world of medical research. The system wasn't broken because it lacked rules. It was vulnerable because powerful people chose to ignore them.
They prioritized profit and glory, and in doing so, they enabled a psychopath. The personal cost was just immense for everyone involved. So here's a final provocative thought for you, the listener. These source materials were inspired by a real tissue brokering case in Canada that had global ramifications. Now, given how much we all rely on tissue donation for things like bone filler, heart valves, all sorts of crucial medical products, what safeguards do you think are most critical to prevent this from happening again? To stop ambition from compromising the ethics and the safety of the whole system? Is a clean cut ever really clean?